life I could have known, one beyond my wildest dreams. Maybe that road could have carried me to streets of gold. Things aren't always as they seem. Looking back on all the chances that I missed, some I held, some slipped away. One street over where my memories exist, I wonder what would change, I really couldn't say. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today. Time's gone by, I've traded like dirt into clay. I thought my memories would end. One street over's now 1,000 miles away. When I close my eyes, I'm back to where I've been. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today.
Oh, good morning, Robertson County. Let's just get on into it. This is 1100 WSGI. I'm Utah Laverne, and this is One Street Over. So delighted to be with you for another week. And I'll just remind you that while I typically have not taken a lot of time off from radio, I'm going to start because I'm a teacher now and I get fall break. And I've been teasing everyone that from the moment they hired me to be a teacher, I've been looking forward to fall break. and don't take that. If any teachers out there, oh my goodness, it's a lot. And bless you, because that's one thing. I've had so many teachers over the course of my life is I have been toying with the idea. I've been looking into it for a while and teaching. And they're like, oh, Laverne, it's so much more than you think. Yes, we get fall break and we get summers, but it's a lot when school's in session. Oh, my goodness, it is. It is. There's so much procedural stuff. So I say that very, kind of tongue-in-cheek that, I can't wait for fall break. Well, I got another week to get there, and we got midterms, and it's crazy, but I'm blessed to be a part of the Robertson County School District. We get to talk to Dr. Chris Causey tomorrow because the school board meeting is tonight since next week is fall break. So he's going to be coming in a week early. So yay, I've already confirmed that with him. So if you have any questions for Dr. Causey, our director of schools, please send them to me and I will give those to him. And with all that said, what are we doing today? I've got Amy Lawrence in the house, my friend, who, bless you, I just love you so much, what you do and the work that you do for mental health. And you nominated me for a media award, which I was just floored, and it just meant the world to me for my sister. And I'm not going to get into that because I don't know why I can't seem to even talk about that without getting emotional. Whenever we were at the NAMI, right? NAMI. I knew I was going to say it wrong. NAMI awards the other night, and I was like, I just thought I'm getting a plaque and I'm going to sit down, and everybody talked, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to say. And I got up there and then, tried to just kind of accept the plaque in honor of my sister, and I just got so emotional because I lived with somebody that if we had done, if we could, and we didn't know, I mean, there's so much we didn't know back in the 70s. If we had been better at diagnosing things like her, she lived with bipolar. If we could have helped her so much.
Yes.
And later in life, she did get properly, medicated that helped her. But then when her cancer hit, and it just messed it all back up, and having to walk with her through that,
Yes.
and just the heartbreak of seeing her go, I don't want to be healed if I can't be healed of my mental
Right.
illness too.
Yes, it's hard to watch a
Yeah,
family
yeah.
go through that. And that's one thing NAMI does
Yeah.
and helps the family
Yes.
and watch them. And that's part of the support of NAMI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And of course, NAMI stands for the National Alliance of Mental Illness.
Yeah.
And we were more than honored to be able to present the award for the media
Oh.
for the 2022. And we wanted to thank you for what you have done to support Robertson County and how you have supported us and helped us get the word out to Robertson County.
Absolutely,
And,
my honor.
We appreciate that so much.
Well, and so when I first met you, we were introducing it to you were bringing in. Just tell her about what you're doing here in Robertson County. Just kind of unpack it for them again, because I'm not gonna do it justice. So let's go ahead.
Okay. Well, what we're doing is we're starting an affiliate again. We're beginning it. We're in what we call the baby stages of creating the affiliate. We're an emerging affiliate, and we finished our application within the next year, and we become then recognized by the National NAMI organization. At this time, we meet once a month, and actually tonight is our meeting. We meet at 6:30 at the hospital on the ground floor at the TriStar Northcrest Hospital, and anyone's welcome.
Where would they come in to be able to be a part of that?
They come into the main entrance, and
Okay.
they go down to the ground floor, and we meet beside the cafeteria.
Okay.
You don't have to have a diagnosis of mental illness. If you know a family, friend, anybody that has mental illness or you feel that they have a mental illness, you can come. If you have a mental diagnosis or think you have one, you're welcome to come. And it's from 6:30 to 8:30. We have a break too. It's just a chance to come to a safe place to talk. You don't have to talk if you don't want to. It's confidential. What's said in the room stays in the room. It's just a place that you can come and be safe. And
Yeah.
because a lot of people don't want to talk about it among their family.
Right.
They don't want to talk about it to their friends. It's still that secret thing that people still are having a hard time. But we're wanting to break that stigma and get that to where that's one reason for this week and the Mental Illness Awareness Week.
Right.
And is to get people to start talking about it and let them know that mental health conditions are okay to talk about. And we want people to have an avenue to be able to go and talk about it. We go into the community, we go to events, and we try to get the information out there so where people know that there's an avenue that they can come and talk to somebody, and we're available to them. We have a hotline that they can call and talk to somebody. They can go to NAMI.org or NAMITN.org and get information. There's fact sheets that talk about different types of diagnoses. Just all kinds of wealth of information that we can provide them. Today we're set up at the library where they can go and get all kinds of information on different diagnoses if they would like to. And we offer classes also called Family to Family, Basics, and then also we do presentations. I'm doing on Wednesday called In Your Own Voice at the library at 6 p.m. And then we also go into the schools if they're interested, and we do Ending the Silence. It's for youth in middle school and high school that we do if they would like to invite us. So we do several things. We can also go into businesses if the human resources like us to come in, and we can do a presentation for them on mental health conditions too. So we have a variety of options that we can provide.
I mean, it's just, again, it's one of those things, like you said, that people do not want to talk about, but we've got to start talking about it. It's so at the awards the other night, y'all had the convention there,
Yes.
and I want to say NAMI because it's NA, but it's NAMI, NAMI. So it's NAMI, but pronounced NAMI, and they had one of the groups that was set up there. They had these little blue bracelets.
Yes.
It says it's okay not to be okay.
Yes.
And she gave me a stack of those.
Yes.
And I've handed those out
Wonderful.
to friends of mine. And I don't have one on today, but I've had them on 2 or 3 times, and somebody would be talking. I'm like, and I just hand it to
Yes.
them. So I need a stash of those because
Yes.
people have got to understand. You know, we deal with this a lot with Celebrate Recovery, and I
Right.
do the work with Matt Driscoll up at the
Yes.
and Christy Driscoll at the
Yeah.
Epiphany Baptist Church, and so many others, and we have a Celebrate Recovery at Madison. But so much people don't realize that what we do there is not just chemical addiction. There's a lot
Correct.
of people with anxiety issues, people who wonder if they've got bipolar going on, or maybe they
Right.
have somebody in their family. One of the most, I felt so much better whenever the lady got up that was talking about her son that has PTSD.
Yes.
And she was talking about her journey into working with mental illness was because of her son's journey.
Yes.
And I related so well to her because watching my sister,
Right.
you know, and watching just other friends that have gone through it. And not to say that I don't struggle with things too, but it is not something that weighs me down. But a lot of people who I love have walked it, and so man, anything you can do to help them say, hey, it's okay not to be okay.
Right.
It's okay.
And those are the kind of people we're looking at, even volunteering in the
Yeah.
program,
Yeah.
because we need people like that to come in and be there to talk about their situations, their families that has gone through these things and how they dealt with it.
Right.
For those who are currently going through it, because a lot of people don't know what to do, how to handle it, and until they hear someone else's story or are able to ask those when they're at support group, what did you do? How'd you handle it?
Exactly.
Because I'm just there to facilitate it. I'm not there to provide all the answers. They're there to get the answers from the people who have gone through it. You're just there as a facilitator,
Right.
to help the conversation to keep going.
Absolutely.
And that's the main thing. You're not there to be in charge or anything like that. It's just to help the conversation flow.
And to let people know that there are things out there. Oh, there's so many. There's just nobody should ever just give up on this.
Right.
I mean, there's just so many resources.
Right.
And we've gotten so much better at handling this. But as one thing too, I want to touch on, and this is something that I've got to reach out to law enforcement here and talk a little bit about that, because
Yes.
we are not set up yet here in Robertson
No, we are
County.
not.
Speak to this.
We
for
have
me.
there's a called crisis intervention team, and it's the acronym is CIT. I'd like to see Robertson County
Me too.
get involved in the CIT. It's where they develop a program. They can contact NAMI. There is Kim Rash King. She is the head of it in NAMI, and they have a 1-week training program. It's 40 hours, and then they do refreshers throughout the year, and it is where they're taught how to deal with a mental health condition when they go in, because they receive calls on mental health conditions often about someone who is they're threatening the family, they're diagnosed. In other words, they have drug addiction and they have a mental health condition, and they may be homicidal, suicidal. They may, and in that process, or they may be assaulting the family. And when they call the police, they need to let them know they're dealing with a mental health condition. So number one, that when they come in, they're not, they know that that's a situation. If you don't let them know that, then they don't know how to act with that
Right.
situation. But with CIT training, they know how to handle that situation. And I hope to eventually be able to talk to them, and maybe that they'll be interested in getting involved in the program.
I think they will. I
Yeah.
don't think there's any question. I think it's just getting to the right person
Right.
and saying, hey, are you aware of this?
Right.
Yeah.
And, I know that we had the conference and they were busy and couldn't get to the conference. We were wanting to sponsor them. So I'm hoping to be able to get a hold of somebody and get that conversation going and be able to sponsor them at one of the trainings that is available close to the area.
Right.
So that they don't have to travel way out. When we get another training that's going on, see if they're interested in going and see what it's all about.
Do you know when that would be? Do you have one, projected coming up soon?
I am
or-
not sure when they have the next one close to this area.
Okay, if you can get that date for me, and I'll help,
Yes.
because I talk to them all the time.
I will be glad to.
And I can get that information to them, because I don't know, it's like when you hear about anything, just walking through life, you hear about these programs, it's like, well, that sounds good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know much about it. I don't really have time. But watching the law enforcement
Mm-hmm.
officers who came to the dinner the other night and what they said about their CIT training.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. What a game changer it was.
Yes.
And just to hear it from law enforcement's mouth.
Yes.
That really impressed me. And I think down in Franklin,
Mm-hmm.
they have a huge support for
Yes.
CIT. And it just really impressed me.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I thought, man, I would love for, Chief Head and Sheriff Van
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Dyke, all these guys to hear this
Right.
and really say, oh, okay, maybe we
Yes.
need to look into CIT.
It would be wonderful if they would
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
take the time and just look into it.
You bet.
Even
Absolutely.
talk to Kim, and I can get that conversation going with them as soon as we can
Make
hook
a
them up.
connection. So if anybody's
Yeah.
hearing this, we got something we need to talk to them about, because this was, and again, I get whenever you hear about
Yes.
programs, you're like, oh, well, yeah, that sounds good, but I've
Yeah.
got this. Hearing it from law enforcement, from the horse's mouth, so to
Yeah.
speak, especially being right there in Franklin, having such a strong presence of it.
Right.
Man, I just, the gentleman who spoke,
Yeah.
that was given the law enforcement award, he would be a great one, maybe to
Yes.
just come down here or maybe
Right.
them go to him, because that's
Right.
not that far.
No.
And it might be that they could talk with him, and maybe we can make that connection
Yes.
to kind of plant the seed and kind of say, oh, yeah, we need to check into
Right.
that. So
And
I
I'm
think
sure
that
we
would be a
can
good
get
connection.
Kim
Yeah.
to work that connection out.
Yeah, I think that would be a good one to make.
I'll talk to Kim, and
Yeah.
we'll see what we can do to get that going.
Absolutely.
And I know the training officer was real busy, and he couldn't make it because I had
Mm-hmm.
offered to talk to him, Sergeant Edwards, and he was just real busy, had some other training that he had going on.
Sure.
And it
Well,
just...
there's stuff all the time.
yeah.
But I mean, we all see law enforcement dealing with somebody that's very obviously mentally ill.
And actually, that's what started NAMI Robertson
Right.
County. Tony had started this because his son was having problems with getting multiple arrests. And some of the handling of it was very traumatic to the family. And so that was a lot of the situation that had brought NAMI to Robertson County
That's interesting.
was because of those. And so that would be very interesting to see the CIT come in. And for even NAMI to be able to be a contact for the families, for us to be able to support them in the process, and let them know, because we don't want the families to react badly either, because obviously that affects the families and they can overreact also. And they need to be educated. Everything comes down to education and how to inform them. And that's what NAMI is all about, is education.
Right.
And if we don't educate and inform, how are people going to learn? And how are we going to change the stigma and the discrimination that goes with mental health conditions? And that's what we're wanting to change, and that's what we're wanting to inform people about.
Absolutely. And this is Mental Health Awareness Week. And so, right? Did I
Yes,
get that
that's right.
Did I get
That's right.
It's Mental Health Awareness Week. We're coming off of Suicide Prevention month, which was in September, and they all just kind of overlap. And this is something I talk to my students about, and I got to do a break, but I have challenged my students to, number one, I need to let them all see themselves on camera and hear themselves speak. And so I said, I want you to answer 2 questions. I want you to answer, and a lot of this kind of spills off from a Bible study that I'm doing of Christy McClellan's, but I said, I want you to answer 2 questions. What makes you laugh and what makes you cry? And really the question I'm wanting to get them to answer is the one that makes them so angry that they could cry. Because I said, when you find out something that makes you, that you see that needs to be fixed in the world, and you decide, I'm going to pour myself into that, I'm going to do something about that, you find purpose in your life.
Yes.
And I said, during Suicide Prevention Month, I said, one of the things we find out so often are people that are struggling is because they don't feel like they have purpose. Well, that's a way to find your purpose.
sure.
Find out what makes you angry and then go and help it. Maybe it does make you angry to see people homeless on the street just because they're mentally ill. So get involved. Go into the meeting tonight with NAMI and find out what's going on. Talk to Amy and the different ones here in town. And if you have influence over Sheriff Van Dyke and Chief Head, tell them we have some people that need to meet down in Franklin to learn about CIT, because it is powerful. I heard the officer talking about it, and just the impact is just amazing.
Right.
So there's something that can help find purpose for you in your life. We do need to pause, though. Let me go ahead and do my break here for Barry and Rebecca Richards with the Exit Realty Garden Gate team. Let's start with them. My friends up in Cross Plains. I met them at the Kilgore Station Bluegrass Festival. They asked me to host that a few years ago, at the very first of it, and we've been friends ever since. And I found out what they know about real estate. If I had any real estate questions, that's who I'm going to, because I've known them a long time. And you've got both of them that are just so well-rounded in their background. Rebecca came out of a radiology background. Barry was a marketer. He was a vice president of a marketing company up in Nashville for many years. And so they came to this wanting to learn about real estate. Somebody said to Rebecca many years ago, you might be really good at this. And she started looking into it. She became one of the first in the area to be a seniors real estate specialist. She's always studying and digging deeper, and she's become one of the best realtors in the area. She brought Barry on as part of the team as well because of his marketing background. And I mean, just a great, well-rounded team when it comes to the real estate community. They specialize in Robertson County properties, but they also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line up in Kentucky. If you would like to connect with them, you can call them at 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425. Go and check them out at sellwithbecky.com, sellwithbecky.com, or buy at robertsoncounty.com. And they say, hey, if you want to join a great realty team, reach out to us as well. Maybe somebody says you'd be great at real estate. Well, you just may be. And Exit Realty is a great team to join. 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425. Always tell them U-Turn sent you. Okay, Amy, as we get into the last few minutes of the show, I see Mr. Tim Henson's in the house. Brought him in because we've got a lot of stuff happening in Adams. And there's the plays, they've got the Smoke, and I can't remember the names of all the plays, but it's talking about the Tobacco Wars, talking about the history
Jordan with your
of
local
what
news.
goes on with the Bell Witch. I don't like all the witch stuff, but the history of it's
Yes.
fascinating. But there's just so much going on in Adams. They have their big fall time, and so we definitely want to give them a chance to come in and talk about it. And Tim is the expert, so
Yes.
he is standing by to come on here at 7:30 and
Okay.
fill us in on that. So as we kind of wrap up, reminding people Mental Health Awareness Week.
Yes.
And I'm so glad you have your meeting tonight.
Yes.
What great timing.
Yes, it is
Yeah,
great timing.
yeah.
I didn't even think about
Yeah.
that till we were talking, till I
wonderful.
got to thinking about it. But yes, Mental Health Awareness Week is the 2nd through the 8th. It also, we have, the theme is what I wish I had to know, just so that people know that Monday is for stigma, and it's what I wish to know about stigma. Tuesday is what I wish to know about medications. And Wednesday is what I wish to know about therapy. Thursday is what I wish to know about disclosing information. And Friday is what I wish to know about caregiving. What a lot of people don't know is that even I have mental health conditions. I have bipolar. I also have suicidal ideologies. And and that's my story that I'm going to be talking about on Wednesday at 6:00. And I not only have that, I've taken care of family that has had also mental health conditions. So I'm what they call a two-hatter.
There you go.
I do both. So I'm able to talk to people and deal with both situations.
Right.
And I'd love to have people come out. I'd love to be there for them. And please come out. I'd love to have you.
And help develop this here in Robertson County.
Yes.
Just, cannot say enough about the meaningfulness of really making sure people know that they have a place to turn to, because so many people are just not aware.
For sure.
And we just need to keep them aware and make sure, and just look at them and say, hey, are you okay?
Yes. A lot
Just
of
have a
times.
conversation. Don't be afraid to talk to people. Hey, are
Yeah.
you okay?
And you're not alone.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. So,
Yeah.
so
And
much going
like you
on.
said, it's okay not to be okay.
I know. And I've got to get a hold of them and say, can I please have like 100 of those
Yes.
bracelets? She gave me 10.
Yeah.
I think. And my son that works out in Jackson, he is a therapist and just superb. He
Yes.
is so good. And he works with foster families and foster children. And I'm so proud of him. He's
Yes.
doing kingdom work. I just love what Caleb's doing so much. But I want to keep, 3 or 4 for him.
Yeah.
Because I'm
Yeah.
going to see him next weekend, and I just want him to have them because I think
Right.
he will want them too. And so I need to call him and say, I need a stash of those because
If I
that's
don't
just
mistake,
awesome.
That was Pinewood that had
I think
them.
it was Pinewood that had them,
Yes.
yeah.
And,
But they're just, it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah, it
You
is.
know?
And a lot
uh,
of people don't realize that it's okay.
We've been trained that I'm fine, everything's fine, I'm
Yeah.
fine.
And
it's
that's
okay
what-
not to be okay.
And what do you say when you automatically say hi to somebody? How you doing?
I'm okay.
What's the answer? I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm great.
What would
Yeah.
someone do if someone said, do you really want to know how I feel?
Hopefully, and hopefully you can get to a place where you'll be like, do you need to talk? Let's go talk.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes that's one thing I think about in my life and the work that I do in so many different, not just at school, but at church and just everything, just daily life, running busy. That's the hard thing, is to take the time and say, you need something? Do you need to? And that's where, honestly and truthfully, that's where we stop just saying, I don't want to get down this rabbit hole, but that's what followers of Christ do.
Right.
That's what we're
That's
called to do. And I know it's hard. I'm talking to me. I'm looking in the
Yeah.
mirror. But are you a believer or are you a
Yeah.
follower?
Yes.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, that was my devotional
Yeah.
last night, so it's kind of on my mind. But anyway, so yeah.
And then neat how the
Be
Lord
a doer.
coincides.
Do what now?
Isn't it neat how the Lord coincides?
Amen.
What you-
Yes, it is. Oh, I know. All the time.
He
I'll have
brings it all together.
Yes, all the time. I'll be studying something and I'm like, oh, well, that's applicable to the show this morning. Very
Yep.
interesting. Talking with Amy Lawrence, and she is with NAMI, Robertson County, or I say it again.
You said it right.
Did I say it? NAMI.
Yes.
Okay. No, NAMI. Yeah, I'm saying it right.
Yeah,
For
you're
some
saying
reason,
it
I think
right.
I'm saying it wrong. You know how you overthink something? Yeah, that's me. NAMI, Robertson County, and they're in the developing stages. We're also trying to get CIT here in Robertson County. So if you're just joining us, we need to make contact in regards to this with Sheriff Van Dyke and Chief Head, and I'll make the phone calls that I know how to make too, and just say, hey, we need you to look into CIT.
Yes.
And there's some great folks doing this down in Franklin. I bet we can make a connection there where they can learn more about it from the officer that's on the ground doing this. Hearing what he had to say was just breathtaking.
Yes, it was.
Really was. So anyway, that's what we're talking about today. Today is, this is Mental Health Awareness Month, and they have the NAMI meeting tonight. Tell them again how to be a part of that, and then that'll wrap us up.
All they need to do is come out and see us tonight at 6:30. We meet at Northcrest, or TriStar Northcrest Hospital on the ground floor, and just go in the main entrance, take the elevator down, and we'll be there.
Right
waiting
there
for you.
at the cafeteria
Yes,
area.
near the cafeteria.
Very good.
All right.
So glad to see you, sister.
Glad to see you.
Thank you again for coming out and
You're
joining us.
welcome.
And if you need anything, you message me.
All right, I'll be glad
Sounds
to.
good. And I'll
Thanks.
let you know. I'll reach out to law enforcement.
Okay.
We'll
I'll be
figure it
looking
out.
forward to it.
Okay.
All
Thanks,
right.
Amy. God
All
bless
right.
you.
God bless
We're
you.
going to let her head out, and I'm going to go ahead and talk about our next sponsor as we get ready for Mr. Tim Henson to come in the house and get some history on us about Adams, Tennessee. That's always so much fun. But let's go ahead and let's talk about my friends over at Veterans Motorplex. I'm trying so hard to get Mr. Jerry in here. It's so funny. We have just a hard time connecting because he's a busy guy. But if you are looking for something super fun to do local, all you got to do is go to the racetracks. Go to Highland Rim, Highland Rim, really, did I just say that? You go to Veterans Motorplex, which is the old Highland Rim Speedway. And the reason I kind of always mention Highland Rim is because if you want to follow them on social media, if you want to connect with them on social media, you really have to go to Highland Rim Speedway, because when they took it over and made it Veterans Motorplex, what happened is they're like, you know what? They got like all these followers, 17,000 followers. Rather than us just start new, why don't we just hang on to their social media page? Makes a lot of sense, y'all. So that's where you're going to find them, is at the Highland Rim Speedway Motorplex page. You'll find Veterans Motorplex, and you'll find out everything that's going on. They always do a great recap of what happened the week before and what's going on the week coming up. And you're going to find every Saturday night, you're going to find great racing, all kinds of fun stuff happening. The gates open at 4 o'clock. They have racing starting at 6. They have a great price going for you. $40 gets 8 people in, 6 minor kids, 2 adults, $40. You can call them at 615-643-8725 if you have any questions, 615-643-8725. And if you want free tickets, just message me in social media, or you can even text me on my phone. Not right now, I'm on the show, but you can text me at 615-594-7736, 615-594-7736, and we'll hook you up with tickets to go to the races. Their season runs through November, and you don't want to miss it. It's a great time. I'm going to get back out there here real soon. 6801 Kelly Willis Road in Greenbrier. Go by there today, and when you get by, always please, you know what to tell them. Tell them that U-Turn sent you. And oh my goodness, let's get on back into the show. My new friend, Mr. Tim Henson. We hung out at the Thresherman show. It was funny. My husband and I, he was like, "Where'd you go?" I said, "Well, I was talking to Mr. Henson." And what's the
new boyfriend?
There you go. What's the other gentleman's name? Dewey Edwards, and he's an author, fascinating guys, and haven't been able to get Mr. Dewey in here because of his work schedule, but you retired, right, and you're hanging out, so a little bit more.
For a while.
Sort of, you're funny, but there's a lot going on in Adams, and I want to try my best to get to one of these plays. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it. My life's a little busy right now, but aren't we all? But, oh my goodness, so many fun things. I had Lee Marie she and Steve went to Smoke, I want to say Thursday or Friday night, and said it was fabulous. It's a musical, The Ballad of the Night Riders, which is all about the tobacco wars.
That's correct.
Right? And then Red River Tales has already happened. That's passed. We had Red River Tales, and then you've got Spirit coming up, which I'm a little, if you get on the history of it, I'm more interested in it than, I don't like all the ghost and goblin stuff. I think, you know what I mean? But I want Adams to do well. I want you guys to know about this stuff. And we've got just a great opportunity to go out and spend some time with the folks of Adams and learn more about the history of all this, right? How's that?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so what do we need to know?
Well, I'm trying to lean in this time. I saw myself on on the television, so to speak, and I realized I looked like I was kind of laid back too far. So I'm going to set up here. It may look worse.
You're funny. Oh, you're funny. Now, here we go. There you are.
I thought about you a great deal as I was coming down Kenny's Road this morning. Smoke was everywhere. Every time I passed a barn, it was all over the road, and there's places where it was really thick.
Yeah.
So it's very appropriate. There's 3 more days of the Smoke play. That's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. And I don't know if they've sold out every night, but they'll probably sell out some of the nights. And I know that there'll be good crowds, always is. And it's cool. People say, well, is this inside? No. You got to toughen up a little. Got to wear your coat. And there'll be some nights where it won't be so cool. Spirit, when it's, a couple of weeks from now, it will be probably some really cold nights, and they have to get tight. They've got some curtains that can kind of block the wind a little bit, but I guess to push it along, unfortunately, we've lost some barns. We didn't. I don't know, maybe lost one last year or none. This year we've lost 4 or 5 already.
Are you kidding me? I did not
Really
know
sad.
that.
Yes, I have a picture on the front of the Adams Enterprise from several years ago as to what it looks like. But
Wow.
I had a group from Texas, and they were descendants of the Bells here. Oh, it's been a little over 2 weeks ago. And I was telling them about fire and tobacco, and they said, well, isn't that dangerous? And I said, yes, it is. We lose barns every now and then. And I looked to my left back toward Sadlersville, and the smoke was black, and I said, that is not a normal tobacco barn. So we tore out and got over there, and the barn was pretty much encompassed. It wasn't in the Adams Fire Department. Everybody was there, but it just had to stand back, try to keep it from catching the cornfields on fire. So we had to watch it, and I watched the last wall of the barn fall down, and the ladies, there's 4 of them from Texas, their eyes were big. I said,
I bet.
We're talking about bukus of money here.
You bet.
And the poor farmer has worked hard. It's right at the end, just before stripping time, and here it goes. Well, we had another one Friday night, and I think they said there's been 4 or maybe 5 in the county.
That's
sad.
That is very sad. I'm from a farm family. We did not raise tobacco, but I got a lot of friends who did. And I know that the Bernards lost a barn last year. And, I don't know. Do you think that we're turning, do you think that the tobacco industry is about to go away, or what do you think?
Well, I thought it was slowing down last year. I had some people at church tell me that they're, they buy it poundage is what they do, basically the dark fired. And they've added a couple of Connecticut tobacco, which I'd never heard of. It's nothing more than wrapper. It's a thin tobacco. It's a dark tobacco. But he had been cut 48%. Well, that's, if you got these big barns and you've got these debts. But I talked to him again a little later, and when he got his poundage this year, they actually increased it back up. So he built a barn. That kind of shocked me. I didn't think anybody was building right now. But
I know. It's bizarre.
And you're talking about his barn cost about $130,000-$140,000, what, way beyond what used to be a house price, but it's very expensive. But these 2 plays draw people to Adams, and we'll have not just folks coming for the plays. They come and to see the fall foliage. And there's one more thing I want to add too, which we can talk about or not. There is a vendor festival on the 28th and 29th in Adams, and it's going to be in the gym and outside and under the pavilion. And local folks with their crafts and arts and food, and there'll be entertainment. They usually have a couple of good bands that play music for us. So if folks want to come to Adams the 28th and 29th of October, that's after the last play is finished, I think it'd be well worth your day. I'll set up, and I have already been working hard to make sure I've got plenty of walking sticks to sell. And I sell my books, and Dewey Edwards sells his books usually, and there'll just be all kinds of folks that make dresses and crafts and stuff for Christmas. Will be at this particular vendor fair in October.
And that's the very last weekend of October?
It is.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure if I've got it right, it should be Friday and Saturday, 28th and 29th.
Right, that sounds right. I tell them how to get in touch with your little paper here that you do. It's fascinating.
Well, I can give them my address, and I've got personal phone numbers that I can give. 615-696-2145 is my home number. And don't worry if you can't get me, because I'm tormented to death and I don't answer it a lot of times, but you can leave a message and I'll get back with you. And that's one way. And then my address is 5985 Anthony Road, and Adams 37010, and they can mail me. Sometimes folks want something advertised. I accommodate, and something announced, I can do that. And I try to push all the activities of churches in the general area to at least have a page before they can put their business on there.
When you cover the obituaries in the area, and that's important. And
I try to get everybody from Adams and Cedar Hill, and a few folks that have wandered off and died somewhere else, that I maybe went to Joe Burns or had some kind of activity in Adams years ago. And so most of them are from Adams and Cedar Hill that presently die. And I just lost a sister. I didn't get her in there because I didn't have an obit, but she lives in Colorado. I'm tempted. I may put her in there next month. I will see. But I want folks to be remembered. That's for sure.
I'm so sorry about your sister.
Well, we all are. She grew up in Tennessee, but she ended up in Colorado at the end of her life. And
wow, that's too.
When she died, it killed me. And Daddy was about 77. But I've lost 2 sisters, one age 54 and the other one was 75. And you're never ready for them to go. That's for sure.
Right. Well, I'm sure sorry about that. I'll tell you, we're talking with Mr. Tim Henson, and we're talking about all things Adams, Tennessee. He is, we bring Bill Jones in when we have questions about Springfield, but when we have questions about Adams, we go to Mr. Henson.
Well, thank you.
And so tell the story of the tobacco wars. Can you tell that story for us? Because I find that just very intriguing.
It is, and it's simply this. The price of tobacco in the 1880s and a little prior was, it was a profit-making deal, but somewhere around 1890-ish, I don't know if they overproduce. They usually do. Tobacco farmers, if they're making good, sometimes they put too much out. But the second factor that some folks don't realize is James Buchanan Duke tried to buy up all the processing plants. And so years before, say in the 1880s, 70s, you'd have two buyers coming around to your barn trying to buy your tobacco, and they were kind of in competition. Well, all of a sudden, when Mr. Duke buys out all the companies, or at least has a deal with others that he doesn't own, there's only one buyer coming, and he'll offer you a price. If you don't take it, when he comes back, or if he comes back, it'll be less. Mm-hmm. And the price went from 6-7 cents a pound for the top, and of course it wanders down to second grades, 4 or 5 cents, and then the trash, they call it, or the low grade, anywhere from 1 to 2 cents a pound. It hadn't changed a great deal at that point. But when the top grade dropped to 3, and as Rick Gregory calls it, 3, 2, and 1, and a cussing, the best grade, the top, was 3 cents. The second grade was 2 cents. And the bottom grade was 1 cent, which, is like somebody, as he put it, cussed you, because it cost you way more than that to put it out. Oh, yeah. So all of a sudden you've got people upset, and I would have been.
Right.
People stopped dropping money in the collection plate. Now that makes preachers mad. So they got involved, and people weren't able to pay their store bills. You ran, back in those days, you ran a bill up for 6 or 8 months or whatever, and then when you sold your tobacco, you paid your store bill off, and all of a sudden they can't do that. And they're having trouble paying their taxes. And so they begin to get together, and I know the books say the war started in 1904, but actually in 1901, a group of Robertson County farmers got together and said, we got to do something. They met here in Springfield, and they called it the Robertson County Tobacco Growers. Didn't amount to a lot, but it was an effort in the right direction. In November of that year, they met in Clarksville and added another, the counties all around us, Logan, Todd, and Kentucky counties, Stewart and Montgomery, and counties around us in Tennessee, till it come out to 8 counties. A little more effective, but the tobacco growers were all over western Kentucky and more in general areas, so even you needed everybody. And so after that little get-together, and they got together 2 or 3 or 4 times, a group of farmers met in Kentucky at Guthrie in the it was early 1904, just a little discussion. And late in 1904, they formed the PPA, which I call the Planters Protective Association of Kentucky and Tennessee. And a lot more effective because you have a whole lot more farmers. And I think about 5,000 farmers met that fall. But they really hadn't incorporated. I went back and researched when I wrote a book. Found out that they weren't even incorporated as PPA until after that meeting, but they elected officers, and the president was from Adams, Tennessee, and his name was Charles Fort. And the vice president was a baker out of Kentucky, I believe, Logan County. And the the treasurer and secretary was a Walton out of Allensville, Kentucky, Frank Walton. And then really the power behind the throne was Mr. Felix Ewing, and we know where his mansion is. I hope everybody does, near Adams. He got involved, and he called himself the general secretary, or the general whatever. He was over it, basically, and lawsuits began to occur. When you start messing with farmers, you mess with some people that do not want to join. I call it a union. PPA basically was a tobacco farmers union. That's what they were trying to do, get all the farmers in, at least 80%. But there are farmers that are not going to join any kind of union. My daddy would have been one of those. He said, if I wanted to join a union, I'd go back to Detroit and go to work for Cadillac again. So when he came to the farm, he didn't want to be bothered with somebody telling him what to do, but there were others like that. But once the association started, James Buchanan Duke became aware of it, and he raised the price of what he was giving farmers. Well, that was an enticement to come out of the PPA. But they had had enough of James Buchanan Duke, and they wanted to force him to buy all the people's tobacco, not just those that had refused to join the PPA. And so the war starts because about 1905 they realized, hey, there's just enough farmers not joining the PPA and selling their tobacco to Mr. Duke that he's still functioning at some level. And they wanted to stop him, slow him down. And so they began to visit farmers with a hickory stick, call a man and his wife out on the porch and warn him. And then if he didn't join the PPA, 2 weeks they'd return. And they would haul him out on the porch and tie him to a tree and whip him, maybe his wife too. And this started what I call the violence part of it. People are not going to put up with being hit with a hickory stick. And so, still some folks didn't join, and they began to do what we call night riding. Standback School is between Adams and Keysburg. It's in Robertson County, but it's one of the first big meetings of the PPA. And they took secret oaths, but they went out and visited in numbers of 5 to 25 and warned farmers to join it, again, much like what I just said. And if that didn't work, they would go back and burn a barn and then begin to trash tobacco patches before they even cut it. They'd run their horses and stuff through it, and then they would chop down a tobacco bed, and that was the end. If you started your crop, with a tobacco bed, and they came in after it got up 4 or 5 inches tall, and they took a hoe or stomped it, you're out of business unless somebody gives you plants. And those were the kind of things that were going on between 1905 and 1914. As the price of tobacco did begin to go up around 1910-ish, the violence kind of curbed a little, but it still went on, and they were still trying to unionize. And even as World War I broke out, that's what killed the PPA. Europe was our biggest tobacco market. The dark tobacco people sold to them, and if you didn't have a market or enough market, Mr. Felix Ewins encouraged them just to drop it for a while. And when they tried to reorganize in 1920, 22 or 3, it wasn't as effective. The price either was up there or farmers didn't want to join. And there was a organization even as we were growing it in the 60s, 70s, and 80s here in Springfield, and it didn't have a great effect, but it was an association of tobacco growers, and the little building was over on it was uptown. I can't think of the street right now, but it was over in the main part of Springfield, and I guess it's.
Are you talking about the tobacco building that is now Open Door?
I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, because it was the Tobacco Association.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody thought it would shut down when the government stopped supporting tobacco about 16, 17 years ago. But it stayed in business, and I don't know what its function is. I think it may have helped keep tobacco prices up, organize things. And, Springfield was full of tobacco warehouses. There was one right beside it. Most of them are either gone or they're in some other use now. R.J. Reynolds, other companies just buy it straight out. There is a buying place in Sadlersville. They run it. The Riley brothers run it, but they buy tobacco.
You right on that microphone. You're kind of sitting to the side.
Am I in the wrong place?
There you go. There you go.
I had my ugly mug here.
There you go. But, and we're talking with Mr. Tim Henson. We're talking about the things going on in Adams right now. Now is the time to go to Adams, Tennessee, and see all that they have. He mentioned they've got basically a fall festival happening the Friday and Saturday night, or the Friday and Saturday of October. So those last 2 days, you can go and see their plays. They've got smoke happening through this weekend, and Spirit picks up. And it's going to be the 13th, 14th, 15th, 20th, 21st, and 22nd. And again, learn the history of it and then go in, and it's pure fiction, but I just...
it's based on fact. They'll tell
I'm telling you, I'm saying all the ghosty stuff, and I find...
The Bell Witch legend is...
Yeah.
It's based
legend
on the early books.
Yes.
I don't know how do you deal with that. I avoided it. I told you I avoided it for probably the first 20-something years of my existence in Adams. But when we opened the museum in 1997 and 96, everybody came to Adams want to know about the bells, and I knew nothing. And so I studied and I learned a little bit and wrote my own book. It's called The Black Patch Bells.
Yep.
I'm proud of it, and it sells pretty good. And there's so many others that have done the same thing. 40-plus books have been written, and then I can't tell you how many television shows. I've been involved at least 43 or 44 of them.
Are you kidding?
Some of them are just a few minutes. Some of them Well, there's been, I guess you'd call it a movie made about the Bell Witch, and there's a couple of those, and I was involved at least one of those, and not real proud of what came out of it because I thought they would do better history. They trying to scare everybody, and that's what everybody wants to do.
Well, and there's things there that'll scare you if you want to mess with it, but the history of it is fascinating. And I'll tell you what, when we come back, let me do my ad, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about the history of the Bell Witch and how all that legend and all that stuff got started. Talking with my friend, Mr. Tim Henson. He is the Adams historian, just like Bill Jones here, right here in Springfield. He is the one that they go to whenever you want to know something about Adams. And we're enjoying visiting with him. We want to remind you about Corbin Creek Greenhouse Gifts and Gardening Center. I was by there yesterday. So I checked in with Amy and I said, okay, number one, are you going to do the Christmas decorations? And she said, yes, we are. So if you want to get on that list, be sure and give them a shout and make sure that they know that you want some help with Christmas decorations. Now, she also is going to be coming on the show to talk about the sampler because she's very highly involved with the Christmas sampler. So we'll be talking to her the last Thursday of the month, actually, is when she's going to be coming in. And she'll give us all the scoop on the sampler. So what is going on out there right now? They have got beautiful pansies. Oh my goodness, they are absolutely gorgeous. Bunches and bunches and bunches of them. So that now is the time to get out and get those for your fall color. They have got their perennials 25% off. I picked up a couple of things yesterday. I got some winter cabbage too. I've never tried that. I've got that in my flower pots just to kind of see what it does. And she says that stuff will hold on until you have a hard freeze. So I want to see how I do with that. But there's just all kinds of fun fall color that she has for you. They don't have the mums this year because whenever the time to take care of that happened, Miss Jane needed her. And so Mama comes first, as you know, but they've got the beautiful pansies ready to go. They've got that beautiful winter cabbage, and you can pick up some beautiful things that are perennials that you can get in the ground that will bloom again and again and again. And they've got always their succulents and things like that, the house plants that you need. And of course, they are your CBD source. I restocked yesterday, got my mom restocked on the CBD salve that she and Miss Jane make right there in the house. And if you are interested in knowing if that'll help you with arthritic pain like it does me, maybe you need help sleeping, you will be amazed at how well this stuff works and will incorporate into your life. You can go and see them. They're open still 7 days a week if they're out there. They'll start cutting those hours back as it gets on into the colder weather months. But right now, you can still go by and see them from 9 to 6, 7 days a week. There's just somebody always around and just great stuff. Again, pansies, absolutely beautiful. That winter cabbage, absolutely beautiful. If you're looking for some unusual fall color, those are my recommendations right now. That tobacco smoke, Tim's getting to me out there. All my allergies right now. Oh, my goodness. But it's beautiful, but boy, it gets me. And I was out at Corbin's yesterday, so... Anyway, go and see them, 4920 Highway 161, 4920 Highway 161, or call them 615-384-3185, 615-384-3185. Tell them U-Turn sent you. Okay, talking about what's going on with the Bell Witch. Where did all this start? Give us the story on that.
Way before we had the plays, the cave has been open for a long time. And I don't know, there's just something about caves that kind of scare us. And Mr. Fred Goodman, who went to Bell High School, would say the classes at high school in Adams would walk down to the cave when he was still in school. And, you know, always somebody had a story, and not necessarily based on any truth. But at some point, it became feasible to open up a business as the cave, and they make good money. And they tell the stories, and of course, load up with pumpkins, and they sell you all kind of little gadgets that they've got in the gift shop. Even my walking sticks. She called me the other day and said, Tim, I wish you'd bring some walking sticks. I believe we can sell them, and she has. So it pushes Adams, and it's been around a long time. I don't know the exact year. Legend says that, at the time of John Bell's death in 1820, there was talk in the neighborhood, that's over 200 years ago, of something going on at the Bell House, and that people quit going there. John Bell was excommunicated from the Red River Baptist Church in 1818, I think it was. And it doesn't say anything about the Bell Witch, but a lot of people try to tie it back in to the Bell Witch. And he was never allowed back in the fellowship of the church, which was a major deal back then. You didn't want to die without a church. I don't know where he went to church or if he went to church after that. I believe that part of the family may have been Methodist. He may have gone with them. And the Johnstons, who were good neighbors on Johnston Springs Road, had services, even though there wasn't a Presbyterian church. They were Old Order Presbyterians, and I think John Bell, at least on Wednesday nights, they said, came and worshiped with them. I thought that was interesting. So it's religion, it's legend, it's all kind of stuff, if whatever you want to believe. It's dark. Real early this time of year. I mean, this morning I got up and walked out on the porch, and it was so dark I thought I was going to fall out in the yard. I couldn't see. And it's a good time for stories, and you build a big fire up. And according to the Ingram book, the Bells especially like to have corn shuckings, and they would invite the neighbors over, and the kids would corn shuck and for competition, and the men would drink and get in the shadows and drink, and the women would cook. And I'm sure that was an opportune time for tales and stories and spooks and all that good stuff. But there's always been, I said it last time I was here, there's always been little stories and ghost stories around the farm. Some of it maybe to get us in out of the darkness, but it makes for entertainment. It's what it does. That's all it does. I don't take the legend that serious. There are people that don't want to come to Adams, especially at certain times of the year, or they won't come at all. It's never hit me that way. I'm glad to be in Adams. It's a beautiful place, and I welcome anybody to come. But we've got, this time of year, October especially, we have folks from all over the country, from 400 or 500 miles away, and they're so disappointed they'll drive 500 miles from Florida somewhere, and it may not be the day the cave's supposed to be open, and they just expect everybody to be open and ready with open arms. And I've been called to the museum to try to entertain, and I try to tell them the story they want to hear and give them opportunities. But it's a big deal. Adams is known for its legend, is what it is, and now I think smoke play is going to be,
I do too,
around a long time. And we were somewhat the center of attention. Most of the books are written kind of angled toward Hopkinsville, Kentucky. That's where the Dr. Nall wrote one of the first books from 1938, a fantastic book. And he deals with Adams, but he, puts a lot of activities in Hopkinsville. And they did have a group of night riders ride in. Dr. Amos burned part of the warehouses downtown. It's called Peace Park today, but there's big walls around where tobacco warehouses used to be, and now they're just parks. But Adams, in my opinion, was about the center, I think. Mr. Felix Ewing claimed to be a part of Cedar Hill, but his Glen Raven Mansion is Adams Route 2 right now. And he just liked Cedar Hill, and that's what he always wrote, that he was from Cedar Hill. But Adams and Charles Fort, his house is on Mint Springs Road. It's a beautiful old house built in 1829-30. Had to have guards protect him at times because of the threats from the hillbillies, the opposition to the association night riders. So
it's fascinating, and you can still see this weekend. The 6th, 7th, and 8th be at 7 p.m. Bring a blanket, wrap up. I really want to go. I'm going to try my best to get there, and then they've got Spirit then for the final weekends of the month, and then you've got the big fall festival coming up on the Friday and Saturday. You think?
The 28th and 29th, which is it's just a big yard sale basically, but it's
still a lot of fun.
It is, and it's a lot of local artisans, even from Springfield and places. There'll be people there. Usually, I don't know if you'll do it this year or not. Dewey Edwards does sculptures out of farm machinery, and it is so neat to see.
Oh, really?
See his little critters.
So, is there a fee just to go to the festival?
Well, I don't think there's a fee. I had to pay a little fee to get a place.
To get a booth,
in the booth. I'm not sure if it's going to be returned or not. It doesn't matter. Because I like to talk to people, and it's just a great place to sit there and have people like you, Turn Laverne, come by, and you just tell them all about stuff.
Begin friendships. I love it. And I just appreciate hearing the history of this.
Yes.
Because I'm like you. At first, I've been kind of like, I don't know. But I want to look at the truth of it all. And I'll tell you one place, too, that I want to spend more time looking into is Port Royal. Port Royal is fascinating.
Well, they're working on it too.
And we're about out of time, but just kind of tease them a little bit with Port Royal, and we'll have to talk a little bit more about it later.
The lodge. I hated when the state took it over. I remember back in the 70s, they saved the lodge building, which is actually 3-story. It's got a basement and 2 stories on top. But they tore down. There were several old businesses and buildings in bad shape. They tore them down. They've got little markers for them, but I wish they'd have kept some of the other buildings.
Yeah.
But there's a 1-lane bridge. Of course, everybody thinks that the old thinks about the old covered bridge, which has been gone now for a long time since I believe.
There's a cave too, right?
I don't know about the cave, but
We do have to wrap it up. I'm out of time, Tim.
Okay.
I probably shouldn't have brought that up, but we'll bring you back in because that's a big old story to tell, and I could tell you were just getting revved up. So we better pause right there. I'll bring you back in. We'll talk more about Port Royal because it is fascinating. Thank you guys for joining us here on One Street Over, but we are out of time. We've got Dr. Chris Causey coming in next week. Don't forget, or next week, tomorrow. Good land, I can't even talk. Dr. Chris Causey, Director of Schools, will be with us tomorrow. School board meeting is tonight instead of next week because we're getting ready for fall break. God bless you guys and have a wonderful day. This is 1100 WSGI.